The weeks after that fateful birthday were a blur of emotional highs and lows. I tried to go about my normal life, pretending everything was okay. But the truth weighed heavily on my mind, like a shadow that never left me. Every conversation, every smile, every mundane interaction felt distant, as if I were living in someone else's story. I couldn't shake the image of Claire's photograph, the wild, haunted eyes that seemed to reach out to me across the years. Who was she really? What had happened to her? And, most importantly, why had she given me up? Each night, I sat in my room, staring at the photo, the words from my adoptive parents echoing in my head. Your biological mother struggled with addiction. She couldn't take care of you. The words felt like a judgment. A condemnation of the woman who had given birth to me, yet I couldn't shake the urge to find her. Was I searching for answers? Or was I searching for a piece of myself that had been lost? I finally made the decision. I would search for Claire Thompson. I had to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The first step was to contact the adoption agency that had placed me with Clara and Michael. I dialed the number, my hands shaking as the phone rang. The voice on the other end was calm and professional. Hello, how may I assist you? I'm looking for information on my biological mother, I said, my voice trembling. Her name is Claire Thompson. I was adopted 21 years ago. There was a long pause, and I could hear the shuffle of papers on the other end. Let me pull up the records for you. Just a moment. My heart raced. I couldn't help but imagine the worst, the possibility that the agency might not have any more information, that Claire had disappeared without a trace. Or worse, that the truth was even darker than I could imagine. Finally, the woman returned to the line. I'm afraid the records we have on Claire Thompson are quite limited. She was a young woman when she gave birth to you, and the adoption was handled through the state. Unfortunately, it appears she disappeared after your birth. We have no updated information on her location. Disappeared. I felt a chill run down my spine. The word echoed in my mind, the implications sinking in. Claire hadn't just been unable to care for me, she had vanished. Without a word, without a trace, I hung up the phone, my mind swirling. What did it mean for me? Was she still alive? Had something terrible happened to her? Was I searching for a ghost? The next few days were consumed by an obsessive need to know more. I scoured the internet, combing through news articles, public records, and any possible leads. But the more I searched, the more I felt like I was digging into a void. There was nothing. No news stories, no reports, just silence. I reached out to my adoptive parents, hoping for comfort, but their responses were filled with sympathy and guilt. They had always known this was a possibility, but they had never prepared me for it. One evening, after another fruitless search, I sat in the living room with Clara and Michael, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. I can't find her, I said, the frustration leaking into my voice. There's nothing about her. It's like she just disappeared from the world. Clara's face softened with concern, but I could see the pain in her eyes. Emma, sometimes people can't be found because they don't want to be. It's hard to accept, but some things in life. Some people. They leave and never look back. I don't want to believe that, I snapped, standing up from the couch. I need to know. I need to understand why she gave me up. Why I wasn't worth fighting for. Michael's voice cut through the tension. Emma, this isn't about blaming anyone. Your mother. She made choices that were beyond your control, beyond anyone's control. We love you, and that's what matters. But I wasn't sure anymore. I wasn't sure what mattered. My entire sense of self had been built on the idea that I was a part of Clara and Michael's family. Now, the foundation had cracked, and I was left standing in the ruins of a life that didn't feel like my own. The breakthrough came 2 weeks later, when I received a strange message from an unlisted number. I know who you're looking for. Meet me at the old diner by Maple Street, 7 p.m. The message was brief, cryptic, and unsettling. It could have been a prank, but something in my gut told me it was real. I had no idea who could be reaching out, but they knew about Claire. They knew something I didn't, I debated whether to go, but the thought of finally learning anything about Claire drove me to make up my mind. I had to go. I had to see for myself. The diner was a rundown place, a relic from another time. The neon sign flickered in the dusk, casting an eerie glow over the empty parking lot. I parked my car and stepped out, my heart pounding in my chest. I wasn't sure who I was looking for. But the sudden silence of the evening made me feel like I was walking into something I didn't fully understand. Inside, the diner smelled of grease and coffee. A few patrons sat in booths, but the atmosphere was heavy, as if everyone was waiting for something. I approached the counter, scanning the room for the person who had sent me the message. And then I saw her, a woman, mid-30s, with wild, unkempt dark hair and eyes that seemed to carry the weight of too many years of suffering. She looked at me, recognition flickering across her face, before she turned away. "Are you Emma?" she asked in a low voice. I nodded, my throat dry. "Who are you?" She hesitated, then leaned in, speaking in a whisper. "I knew your mother. Claire Thompson. I knew her well. She's not who you think she is." My heart skipped a beat. The words she spoke hit me like a physical blow. The woman had known my mother. And she had something to tell me, something I wasn't ready to hear. The woman's story unraveled slowly, painfully. Claire Thompson hadn't just been a troubled young woman who couldn't care for her child. She had been running from something far worse. A life of violence, abuse, and addiction. But the most shocking part of it all was that Claire hadn't wanted to give me up. She had been forced to. A dangerous man from her past, my biological father, had found out she was pregnant and had threatened to kill her if she didn't give me up for adoption. Claire had no choice. She had fled, disappearing into the shadows, hoping that one day, she would find a way to come back for me, but she never did. As I sat there, absorbing the shocking truth, I realized something that both devastated and freed me. Claire hadn't abandoned me. She had been forced to. The decisions made for me were beyond my control, but they had been made in a world of fear and survival. And maybe, just maybe, I could finally forgive her for that. I left the diner with more questions than answers, but I also left with a sense of peace. I had learned the truth, and in some strange way, it felt like I had found the missing piece of myself. The past was never going to be perfect, but it was mine to understand. And as I walked back to my car, I realized that no matter what happened next, I would no longer be defined by the past. I was ready to move forward, knowing that the truth had finally set me free.